Hi everyone, welcome. We're here in terms of, today with Joshua for the Impact Incubator, our series of Amplify and Magnify, speaking to lots of organizations. So, Impact Incubator works in partnership with the National Youth Agency for the project Equal Equity, and we are supporting organizations and youth workers of color into leadership management and policy and decision making as well. Welcome. Thank you, Joshua. Nice to meet you. So we've got Joshua from Hummingbird. He's the interim deputy director, and he's here to just have a conversation. How are you doing,
Yeah,
Joshua?
I'm good. Good to be with you, Milka.
Yeah, good to see you. How's your day been?
Yeah, it's good. I enjoyed a weekend of some sun.
Oh,
That was a necessary gift.
yes. Even a little bit of light, a little bit of rain is important.
I'm
Oh, yes, I feel you on that.
looking forward to summer.
Yes, me too. Me too. Just wanted to find out a bit more about, I guess, yourself, how you got into the work, your passion for the work that you do in terms of supporting, I guess, newly arrived communities.
Yeah, for sure. I've so I've been in the UK now for just over 2 years,
Okay.
and originally came here to do a master's degree in migration studies at University
Oh,
of Sussex. And then for the past year, I've been working at Hummingbird Refugee Project in Brighton, and it's a service to young people age 14 through 25 from a refugee and migrant background. And so I've been leading our team there and helping us to engage with just newly arrived young people and young people at any stage in their asylum and refugee journey.
okay, amazing. How was it for you to, I guess you landed in Brighton. I mean, there's a beach there. There's a fun fair and bits and pieces. Yeah, what's been your kind of experience of moving to the UK, and how does that also help you with the work that you're doing as well?
It's been a unique time. All of us in the past 2 years have been through a crazy season, right, with COVID. So I only had about 6 months of normal before COVID came in and restrictions and lockdown. And so I don't think I got a true look at the
Yeah,
city. But I think whenever you move to a new city, it's always those people or those places that really reach out and can make you feel at home. And I think that some of what I bring to my work is being someone who has migrated to the US. Originally, I'm from Bermuda, but having migrated and lived and worked in the US and then also here in the UK, you remember what it's like to be new to a city, to be new to a country,
yeah,
to feel on the outside, to not understand how systems work. And so bringing some of that empathy to the work that I do in supporting newly arrived young people, I think really adds to some of the work that I do.
yeah. And I think I don't know what the context is like in Brighton. I'm just thinking of the young people in Brighton, and I'm just not sure of like the demographics of young people that you might work with. I'm more London based in terms of the work that I do. So just curious to find out in terms of the young people and their experiences as well.
Yeah. So young people from all over, from a number of different countries, from
Yeah.
Afghanistan, from Syria, from Eritrea, from Sudan, um, and a lot of them are at different points in their journey when they come to us. So sometimes we'll get young people that have been here for maybe 3 or 4 weeks, and they came oftentimes under 18, so they come as unaccompanied
Yeah.
minors without their family. And so they might be assigned a foster carer and they're living with a foster family, and that family maybe knows about us and then brings them to our Monday night youth group. And then others, maybe they're 22 and they've been here for 5-6 years already, and they've made an asylum claim, but the asylum process can take years
Yeah.
in order to be completed. And so they're just on this journey where they're trying to survive, they're trying to make a future, but still have this uncertainty of they don't have status.
Yeah.
And so we get young people coming to us at all those different points in their journey.
Okay. And I guess I'm just thinking about the programs that maybe Hummingbird runs. Is there like group work, one-to-one? What kind of support would they receive?
Yeah, so we offer quite a few groups. So on a Monday night, if you come into Brighton and you come to our global social club, you'll meet a room full of maybe 25, 30 young people from a whole bunch of different countries.
Wow.
And Monday nights is our fun youth group. So it's all about creativity and connection, sharing culture and food together. So we have a meal, we eat together. There's some facilitated activities, some games young people can participate in. And it's really just a chance for young people to feel safe, to feel heard, to connect and make friendships with other young people.
Yeah.
So we offer that on Monday nights. We also offer learning support.
Okay.
And so we have one-on-one tutoring that we offer and group work for just educational support, whether it's help with English or maybe it's a young person wanting to pursue a degree in nursing and helping them along that journey. We also offer one-on-one support for young people.
Okay.
And so we have caseworkers that do that. And that's unlimited too. We don't have a time period on that. So they can be working with young people for a month or a few years at a time.
Wow.
And then another one of our programs we offer is all about leadership development.
Okay.
So we call that Young Leaders. And it focuses on helping young people from a refugee migrant background just build confidence, public speaking, and then getting them involved in advocacy work. So we partner with a few other groups around the UK. Recently, they wrote a response to the government's new Nationalities and Borders Bill. So they came together, shared their experiences and their opinion and thoughts on what they would like to see immigration law look like in the UK.
Yeah, and I know you've done work in the US as well. I guess, have you seen, similar programs, similarities in the way that people are being supported over there and here, or do you think that the systems will probably be completely different, but I'm guessing there might be similarities as well?
Yeah, some of my work in the UK was in refugee resettlement. And so the US had a specific refugee resettlement program. So people received approval before they were in country. And so they were welcomed through in a process. Whereas here I'm working with people who are seeking asylum and young people who don't have status when they come. And I think that's really a difficult stage in a person's life when they have that uncertainty of status and they don't know like what's happened. It's a really difficult period. I just think, whether you're a refugee who has status and you're welcomed into a country or you're seeking asylum, I think there's just a need to be treated with humanity and to be welcomed into a city and a community. And so our like mission at Hummingbird is to be a community that's standing together for the rights and protections of young refugees, and really working within the community. So it's not just our organization that's trying to support young people, but it's a community that is welcoming these young people.
And I think you can do amazing work, like you said, from an organizational standpoint, but then if those young people are in different spaces, school, we know lots of like bullying happens in school, the context of where they live in, again, depending on where they are, that also could, all of those spaces have to be welcoming as well, right? What do you think is like, I guess, if people don't understand or haven't really come into contact with anyone that is a refugee, and all they see is things that they read on the newspaper, which is, I guess, sometimes from one lens or one narrative. Yeah, what would you say for someone that doesn't have that knowledge?
Yeah. There's a film that just came out and it's playing in theaters now. It's called Flee, Flee.
Flee,
and
okay.
It's autobiographical and it's also animated.
Wow.
It's really well done. But it tells the story of a man from Afghanistan who flees his country as a child because of war there. But then along the journey also comes out as gay. And he tells his story flashing back to his childhood, but then in the present and some of the issues that he deals with So I just saw it this past weekend, and a wonderful film, I think, just to give like just a real picture and a nuanced picture of what it could be like as someone who's seeking refuge in another country. I think some of the thing, because refugee is a term that we use and we throw around and it can be helpful, but I think often people can be reduced to refugee. Like when you get that label put on you, it can give you certain rights and status and privileges in a country, but also people just see someone as a refugee and that becomes their full identity. So for instance, in our services, we refer to the people we work with as just young people. And they're young people who happen to come from a refugee or migrant background, but being a refugee isn't all of who they are. And so an attempt to just embrace and see all of the humanity of someone. And so I guess I would encourage people who haven't had experiences, or met someone who is a refugee, to seek out local organizations in their community that maybe do work with refugees and see how they can support, volunteer, give, and really just learn more about what the refugee and migrant experience could be like in your community.
And I understand what you mean around labels, I guess, working in so many different sectors like criminal justice system, mental health. There's labels that are used, and actually, would the young people self-identify as a refugee? Would they use that language to describe their experience, their lived experience as well? Maybe not. Sometimes, they might use a different word.
And it's different for every person too, right? Because refugees are a huge group, there's millions of refugees worldwide, and each refugee experience is different. And so some may use that term and want that term to be used, but others, maybe that's not a huge part of their identity that they would put first or forward. And so just meeting people where they're at.
And looking at people's strengths, I think sometimes, I guess, the narrative of refugees or newly arrived communities might be the really difficult, the pain, the trauma, but also sometimes we forget to see people's strengths, their strengths, the tools that they've got, the tools that they've been using to survive. All of those things are and what they want to do. I think there's a few places, I can't remember, where they have there's a cookbook where people can cook different dishes. So from depending on where they're from, they have a kitchen where they cook their own cultural dishes, and they teach that and they earn income. I know a friend of mine does volunteering where they go out and sell bread, but they do mentoring. But the selling bread is also part of getting young people to feel more comfortable to be out selling something, which is also a skill in itself. But to improve their English, they would go out there on a Saturday and start selling bread, and to have conversations with other people, and kind of destigmatize and break these big walls that people have created around the other. So
yeah, for sure. One of our programs that I love that we run is called Young Leaders. And it's a program that focuses on building confidence and advocacy skills in young people. And we've had a cohort of young people that have been through it, that has spent a year just working on public speaking skills, and also just learning how to advocate and to make petition for what they think should happen and how society should operate. And so it's been cool to see them even, write a response to the Nationalities and Borders Bill, and to go to Parliament and to share that with politicians, and just to see the strength and determination that comes with a number of our young people, as they recognize their voice and their power.
Yeah, and that's all you're doing is facilitating that space, right? It's just letting them go and fly, and so much power.
And we see young people at all different points in the journey. So some are brand new and just learning to speak English and getting settled. Others are here and are pursuing a medical degree. So there's a wide range of young people, but share that similar story of migrating to a new country and having to seek asylum.
Is there what have been challenges, from an organizational standpoint, but also yourself within this context of you've migrated and you've moved around and you have your own unique experience of that yourself. What do you think are the challenges, I guess, for Hummingbird as an organization, but also just for yourself?
One of the biggest challenges I see for us as an organization is this tension that we live in of trying to support young people and work with young people to get the best outcomes in the circumstances that they're in. But then also recognizing that we're working in a system like the UK asylum system and immigration system that really is broken, or in fact, just designed to be hostile towards outsiders. And so there's this tension of like trying to do good work now for young people, but also trying to change the system and being able to maybe balance the two, or know when to focus on one and when to focus on the other. So that comes up as a tension for a number of our team and staff. Like, I'm tired of this broken system. It doesn't work for young people. What are we doing to fix it? But then just having to do the work in the system that we're in right now. And so I think it's great as an organization that we have those two arms: services that we offer in support of young people, but also advocacy that young people are involved in themselves to change the system. And, this relates to my struggle personally, and what I've seen as a difficulty is just the racism and anti-Blackness that's in the systems that we work in. So in the UK immigration system, in the UK asylum system, and saw the similar thing in the US as well. But then going being more reflective and looking at just how systemic racism shows up within our organization as well, and how it shows up in the sector, and how I think if we're going to be anti-racist, we have to start with reflecting internally first at how racism has affected our organization and how it's set up and where the power lies. So for instance, at Hummingbird, we started the anti-racism initiative, and are starting by looking internally and looking to change our practices and even our power structures. So just recently, we put out a call for trustees, and it was specifically for trustees with lived experience of racism or lived experience of the migration system. So part of my heart and goal and desire for Hummingbird, but also for the sector, would be that it's more reflective of the people that we serve, especially in terms of racial and ethnic makeup.
Yeah. And, youth work is built on anti-oppressive, practice. And how do we as practitioners action that on our day-to-day interaction with young people, but also within each other, within the microcosms of the systems that we all work in? So yeah, I think that's great that there's been like initiatives, reflection from an organizational standpoint, because the work will feel that the feelings this is to do with even like well-being. If you've got staff that are burnt out, then the young people will not get the best service. So if we're talking about anti-oppressive practice, if the staff are not feeling that they belong within that space, they have the voice that they to advocate for things that they need, or not feeling safe within their context of work, that will also filter out consciously, unconsciously into the work as well with young people. Yes.
Well-being. I think well-being has also been another one of just my focuses personally, but also for our staff and for our team, because of what you just said. And we have a great team of people, and oftentimes in youth work, this is what it is. We don't go into it for the money. We go into it because we love young people and we love making a difference. And so my struggle with staff is to make sure that they take their annual leave, and that they take time off, and that they do take sick days when they're sick, rather than chasing up people because they're not doing their work. It's chasing people to take care of themselves and their well-being in the midst of very difficult work and hostile systems that we work in.
100%. And sometimes the frustration is not my frustration in the work that I've been doing for a long time now, has been the systems and just the kind of the structures, and you're trying to keep someone safe, or you're trying to support someone to have a bit of stability in their life, and actually allowing them to have access to things that they need and within their human rights. Within all those contexts, been the systems and the structures that are like, it's a tug of war, like genuinely push and pull, and that's exhausting.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes.
How do you look after yourself? If you've got a team, you're working within the sector, it can be really heavy. And yeah, like, what have you found anything within Brighton or online?
I mean, it's beautiful in Brighton that we're next to the coast and we're next to
Yeah.
the sea. And me being an island boy from
Bermuda.
Bermuda, and the beach is not a Bermuda beach, I must say, but it being next to the sea really can be calming at times.
Yeah.
So just going out for a walk in the middle of the day can be helpful. But I think just some practical things like having external supervision available to myself and all of our team to be able to process some of the stuff that we're hearing, or some of the things that we're dealing with, and then just making well-being a value in our organization. Like I think sometimes in work environments, it can be you're a hero if you work after hours, if you work long hours, if you do more than you've been asked to do, if you go over and beyond all the time. There's almost like this is what we push our people to look like, but instead trying to confront that and say, no, what we want you to look like to be a hero is to really take care of your well-being, to not answer those emails after hours, and maybe to slow down, and maybe to say no more often. And so that can feel almost like a reversal of the type of work that we're trying to do. But I think that's good, and it's helpful for the good of the team, and also for young people at the end of the day.
100%. I think it's not sustainable as well. Let's be honest. Like Christmas, for example, I know a lot of practitioners and lots of different work. Everybody was like hanging by a thread, and it was like waiting for the Christmas period. And the Christmas period was more of a recovery than a celebration or enjoyment of all the different kind of holidays that take place within that 2-week December period. So people just need time to. Supervision is so important. Not everyone has supervision as well in the sector, so that's great that you and your team have external supervision.
It's helpful.
Yeah. What difference does that make for your team to have a space? I don't know what the I guess the intersections of the team and what they look like or what they go through, but from an intersectional lens, does having someone external help maybe yourself or other people navigate their own maybe triggers within the work as well?
I think the idea of external supervision, so we have brought someone not onto the Hummingbird team, but someone that works with all of our staff, but they're external to the organization. And so it gives people the opportunity to bring all of themselves to those supervision sessions, and to not leave anything out. Sometimes we have conversations where we leave things out because of the relationships that exist. But be able to bring all of that to the table and say, this is what I'm bringing to my work, and work through some of those issues. But then on the other side, we do stuff internally as well. Like we try to be intentional about just reflective practice and looking back and reflecting on what we have done and what we've learned. And so just having facilitated reflective practice sessions that we all do together, so that we can have those conversations and learn, and always be learning.
Yeah, I think it's so important. In lots of the spaces I've had clinical supervision, but I don't bring everything into that space. I'm consciously aware of what I bring in and what I don't, depending on who the supervisor is. So I think, it's so important to have a space. I think the mental health first aid are doing this, I guess on the 18th of March, they're doing this thing around bringing your whole self to work. So more of a campaign and I understand the sentiment, and I'm like, oh, great, let's get involved in that. But then I'm like, can you bring your whole self to work?
Right.
Completely.
Right.
How, what does that
and I think that's our job as leaders in organizations to create those safe spaces where people can bring, and maybe not all of yourself, but most of yourself to work, right? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good sentiment. And I just thought about like, yeah, depending on the culture, the structure, the hierarchy within organizations, it's a good starting point to have those conversations. But I hope there will be a time where you can be completely yourself in that in all the different workspaces. But there is something about it is a level of protection as well sometimes.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, it's important. It's really important. Do you have, I guess, has there been anything? So I know we spoke about the challenges. Like, what would be your hope for the sector and the work that you do, and even for yourself? Big question.
I've been working in the refugee and migrant sector now for maybe 7 years.
Yeah.
And the lives of refugees and migrants in whatever country they're in are so often affected by, the laws and the policy of the country or the city that they're in. And then you recognize that laws are just created by people, by politicians, by lawmakers. And then politicians and lawmakers are elected by us, by people. And so my hope and my dream is for Brighton and for whatever city I work in, is that the community would actually come together and decide that we as a community want to be warm and welcoming to those that come into our city. And I think when a community decides that collectively, then they make different decisions about what laws need to be passed and what policies and how we treat people. And we can see, I think there's a humanity in all of us, that when we see the humanity in someone else and we see them fleeing war, violence, persecution, that we want to welcome them. And we can recognize that now, even as we see what's happening in Ukraine, right? And people's hearts are full and broken. And how can we help these people who are fleeing? And so I think, so my hope is that sense of shared humanity and desire to be a warm and welcoming community for people would extend just past what we see in the news, but to our very own communities, and to people who may need to find refuge in our communities. And when that happens, then we'll create systems that are more equitable and just to those who come and visit, that can oftentimes be seen as the other. And then when people are seen as the other, then we feel like it's okay to treat them differently, that they have no access to public funds, and that's fine, that they can survive. Because they're other. But when we see the humanity in someone else, then we say that's not okay. Like, we can't treat people like that. So I think that's my heart and my hope, is that our communities change in how they want to treat people who are new.
And I think you're right. Sometimes we are like, individually as a collective, what do we all do? I guess accountability from us as the people that are living in all the different cities. And if the structures are not serving everybody in the way that sometimes they're built, then how can we support? How can we all kind of do our bit? And I think you were saying around like even changing our perceptions, so like reading things and watching things that will help people, like the shared humanity element without kind of segregating people over there. It's so important. We hope that the work continues, and it will, and it has to. Is there, I guess, what would you say is like, I don't know, what would be a small win? I know there's like Refugee Week and there's like awareness in June. What would be like a small win? Is it just awareness? I guess in June, if people are more aware, and they sometimes they might hear stories and kind of understand things. Is there an action? Is there anything else people can do?
I think one of the things I would encourage people to do is find an organization in your local community that supports refugees and migrants, and get on board with what they're doing and try and understand what they're doing too. And I think you'll hear this from people in the refugee and migrant sector, that really what is needed is policy change, and that we treat people differently. And so another thing people can do that can seem small, but it does make a big difference, is speak to your local MP and communicate your desire for your community to be warm and welcoming and have systems that are equitable and just. And when we do that, then those who lead us politically make different decisions, and we get policies that are different, and then those policies really affect people and the lives of young people.
Yeah, it's I think there's definitely something about, they can definitely write to their MPs. That also, I guess, understanding that, I guess, newly arrived communities are not here just to take. I think that sometimes that's the narrative, or the kind of the thinking around, oh, they're coming to take over or take our jobs. But in reality, like, the percentage of migrants and refugees is like 1% or something, like very, very small. It's also thinking about the contribution they will make, right? What?
100%, 100%, 100%. And I mean, we live in a nation right now in the UK where, our economy is built on immigration, and we need people to be here to work in order to make it happen. I've been involved in just even a number of studies in the US that just, long-term study the impact of refugees in a city. And almost always in the long term, it's a benefit.
Yeah.
So even if we look not from a compassionate or empathetic standpoint, but just from a financial and practical standpoint, it makes good sense.
100%. But it's good to kind of have, some people to even hear statistics or just kind of hear the reality, because sometimes with everything, the media, the narrative is like refugees are taking over. And it's that, and it's kind of this kind of keeping the facts. But no, I think you're doing incredible work. Hats off. Is how can people stay in touch with you and connect with you personally as well? LinkedIn might be the best one, so it'll be Joshua Samuels.
Yep, Joshua Samuels on LinkedIn would be a good way to connect and to communicate. And if they wanted to just find out more about the organization, just follow Hummingbird Project Brighton. Put that in Google, and our website will come up. Yeah.
Brilliant. And it's just been nice having you in the Impact Incubator, and just having the conversations and having the space for people to connect and learn from each other as well. So
yeah, it's been a good space, and I look forward to it. And I also look forward to more in-person meetings as well.
Yes, we're going to have to do, well, we did have one in Christmas, but we'll definitely do more sessions in person. But yeah, it's been really nice just having a conversation, and a really important conversation as well. Like, I think there's so much for everyone to really kind of think about newly arrived communities, like you said, our shared humanity, what that looks like, and with the context of what's going on now, Ukraine, seeing that everyone deserves safety, and the equity in that as well is a conversation in itself. So but yeah, thank you, it's been really great. I'm going to find the film though. It's a play.
Flee. It's a film.
It's a film. Okay, I'm going to catch that. Hope everyone else can find it and watch it as well. Thank you for your time, everyone. Thank you, Joshua. It's been really nice having you here. Have a good day and take care. Bye.